So real quick, guys. Like I was saying, I heard a lot of what Amy was saying before, and I heard a lot of what she was talking. Remember how she was talking about the psilocybins and all that other stuff, and they were talking about that? Me and her had extensive, Mike was even there for a little bit one day, had extensive conversations about that. Because there's a lot of really good stuff that's going on, right? Especially what you talked about with the trauma and stuff like that. But here's the thing. I think it could be, and this is my opinion, I think it could be a good tool if you're looking to make a change and do the right thing. Because it really is, you see the evidence, people with addiction and stuff like that. Like, remember she's talking about ended up in 3 to 9 months, 3 months to a year. What do you think happens? Why do you think it's only 3 months or up to a year? I did a lot of reading and stuff like that and seen that most people relapse before 6 months. Why do you think that is?
I know for me, when I had 6 months, like I was working a program and stuff, but I got pneumonia and I was really isolated. But I remember during that 6 months, I got what my doctor called anhedonia. Is that what it's called? Yeah, I just felt flat. Like I just didn't feel like I was enjoying life. Like I didn't feel like I was enjoying life. I didn't feel depressed. I didn't feel really much of anything. Just felt like flat. Yeah, just indifferent. Like I loved everything. I wasn't like, it was just a weird, odd feeling in place. And I was in sober living. I was working. I was going to meetings. I was doing everything. Yeah.
What steps you did?
I went through 12. I mean, I got to 12, but I was not working daily.
Because you're kind of answering my question for me because, like with these.
But even when I was like, let's just say I was at 8 and 9, I started feeling it, and while I was working them.
Well, listen, it says it in the book over and over. It says it like what we read today about Bill's story. How did Bill even start this whole thing? The guy showed up to his house. His name's Eddie, right? He showed up to his house because he got better, and what did he want to do to Bill? Pass along the message. He wanted to help him, right? And it says it in the book about people who have gotten sober, but they failed to enrich their spiritual life.
Right.
That's the thing. That's the thing that adds.
Yeah, I don't.
And this is what This is what I'm saying about the people that do these types of with the psilocybins or the what do you call it? The hallucinogens. They do it because they think it's going to be a quick fix, and it does help, and it does help you get through traumas and stuff like that. But they fail to keep doing it. They fail to enrich their spiritual life. Because listen, I'm like really, I think I've done a lot of reading and watching on this stuff. I think it could really, really be helpful.
I don't feel like
PTSD,
yeah.
OCD, PTSD and OCD and anxiety.
Well, I don't feel like there's like any like shortcuts. Like I think that maybe it can help some people get over certain hurdles, but just beware of wisdom you do not earn.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Because the only thing that I don't like about it when people say, "Oh, I heard you could do this. I want to do this," I'm like, I think they get hooked on the fact that it's a quick fix. You know what I'm saying? Oh, boom, and let me do it. Hold on, and then her and then you. Yeah.
Well, see, I was talking to Eric while we had our 30-minute thing, and I was telling him about that. And I was like, but the doctor here, he wants to put me on antabuse. And I've taken antabuse before, and I actually drank on it. It was the worst experience of my life. And Eric's like, you know what, that's probably a really good idea coming out so you can work on your program and work on yourself and actually get some, take antabuse for a couple of months or whatever while you're working all this.
While you're doing this. Because if you think, and I don't mean you, if a person thinks that, okay, I'll just get on antabuse, or if you're a heroin painkiller person and I'll just do, what's that?
Vivitrol.
Not the Suboxone, Vivitrol. If you just do the Vivitrol, I'll be fine. Well, what's my thing that I always say all the time? It's not that we have a drug problem or an alcohol problem, because that was the solution to our problem. And we don't have a stopping problem, because every single person in this room, whether you're in treatment for the first time or the 100th time, we've stopped 100 times. We can't stay stopped. Why can't we stay stopped? Because we're not treating the causes and conditions and the symptoms that got us into this. Because it gets me back to this thing. Did you ever hear the cliche, and I want to do a little bit of cliches, that the truth will set you free, right? So if the truth will set you free, let's bring it back. What will a lie do? Keep you sick.
Yeah.
Keep you sick. So the truth will set you free if see, that's the thing. This stuff is so before we started. I mean, during the drinking and the trauma that we go through from the drinking and the this, but it's like, you have to get your truth out there. You have to deal with those problems. You have to do, like what Amy was saying today, like about talking with your partner. Why do you think talking about, I don't care if it's a situation like this or if it's a situation like this, why is talking about it good? Somebody.
Takes the power away from it.
It makes,
It definitely takes the power away from
it
it.
makes me feel like I'm helping someone else, and that gives me a feeling of self-worth.
Okay, well, but what if you're just dumping problems on them? Do you
Well,
feel like,
I'm not trying to dump problems.
Yeah.
I want to help somebody, and I feel like if they get something out of it, I'm helping them.
Yeah.
It gets
And
me
also,
going.
it's like they say, you teach best, but you need to
Yeah.
learn most.
well, here's the thing, listen, pain shared is pain lessened. It really is. Like, that's why I say to people all the time, man, let me help you with your pain. Tell me what's going on. Tell me. Because how many of us as a practice, stuff it down. Say shit like, it is what it is. How about this? I don't give a fuck.
About this.
How many times? Whatever. Yeah. Well, it is what it is. Whatever.
Right, exactly.
Listen, how many times have we, listen, every time I ever said, I'm trying not to curse. I don't give a F, right? You know what I mean? Every time I said I don't give a F, I gave an F. I just was too embarrassed or not ready to admit that I gave a shit. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, I don't care. Like I did a lot of pretending that things weren't really bothering me. But it's like, you gotta talk about it. You gotta get through it. You gotta know you gotta know that like your brain has hardwired itself to self-destruct yourself. Anybody in here not believe that they self-sabotage themselves? Yeah. I mean, because we'd have to look at the behaviors and the actions that we've done and look at it and say, a person that wants the best for themselves would not act or live the way we do. You know? So, like what Amy was saying, what was the thing that she was saying about, like, I always say we have to reprogram ourselves, right? We have to reprogram ourselves. She was saying that process it, but if you do the things differently, it's because we became drug addicts and alcoholics because of this part in our brain that's the reward system, right? And we would drink, we'd get high, whatever your issue is, whatever. This reward system would go all the way up, right? And then it gets to the point where it's just, it's whatever. So we have to reprogram the reward system. Now this is the thing. The things that it's going to take to get you better, to heal you, to do good, it's going to go against your natural instincts by now. You know what I mean? Like who in here has been in early recovery before you got here, after you left a place like this, been in sober living, and completely 100% not wanted to go to a meeting or do any of this shit, and then when you went, said, oh man, you know, it feels so much better. You know what I mean?
Much better, yes.
No, I know.
Glad I went.
Well, who in here likes to exercise? How many times did you, oh man, I don't feel like, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to do this. And then you go, because listen, there's plenty of times when we want to go. But I'm talking about the times we push through anyway and we go, and it usually, it's usually even the best, you know what I mean? Like, oh boy, did I really need that? Yeah. Like what Amy was talking about with the depression, she's afraid that it gets to a 10. See, the thing about people like us with our depression, it gets to a 10 fast. How many of us isolate? Next thing you know, all we're doing is watching ID Discovery, some other negative type of stuff by ourselves, and we don't want to do anything. And that is, and everything in us, in our mind and everything is saying, man, fuck that. I'm gonna stay home and relax. I'm gonna stay home and chill. I don't want to go to these groups, or I don't want to do this because whatever. And that's your brain lying to you, because you got to get up and push. The worst thing for depression is isolation. Absolute worst thing. But isn't that what our brain tells us we want to do? All of a sudden we get uncomfortable being. But that's why I said, pain shared is pain lessened. Even if you go to a meeting and you don't really share about it too much, just being around people that are on a positive note, you'll feed off them. Like every single person in here, trust me when I tell you, you have no idea what it takes to get better. People tell me that shit all the time. No, Mike, I know what to do. I'm like, no, you really don't. I know what you're saying. I get what you mean by you're saying it right here. but you're not gonna know when you get out there. The only way to know is to go and do it, and then you get the reward from it, and you go, oh, that's what they meant. This is what they were talking about. That's why, like, sometimes I get a little sad, because I see sometimes people come in here, and they're wasting their time. And it's like, you're not wasting my time, or Terry's time, or Amy's time, right? Why?
You pay you.
Not very well, trust me. We get paid. And we really give, like, when I tell you, I feel like I, or Amy, or whoever, like, we want your recovery for you more than you guys a lot of times. And why? Because I know what it can do for you, and I know what it can do for your family. But like I said, when I see people come in here, and all of a sudden, this is bullshit, and that's bullshit, and I don't want to do this, and I want to watch TV, and I want to do this. That is the exact thinking that's going to keep you where you're at. And it's like, damn, and it breaks my heart, because I'm like, where's the humility or the willingness?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where's the humility and willingness? Like what I was saying in the last group. The willingness is the most important thing. But without the humility, I don't care how much willingness you have. You know what I mean? You can show up to a meeting and go, all these motherfuckers are idiots. This is bullshit, and that's bull, and nothing's ever gonna sink in. You need to go in and say, oh, I mean, is it crazy that you just might not know what's good for you? Right? Like, if we can look at the past and look at all the mistakes we made, it's pretty obvious that sometimes we don't make the best decisions. But yet when it's right in front of our face, when we're saying you should go to every group and you should do this and you should blah, blah, it's like, oh man, you know, and all of a sudden figure out every reason why they don't need to go or they don't need to be here. And like I said, it breaks my heart, it bothers me. I don't take it personally if you don't come to my groups where I'm like, oh man, it's my groups, why aren't you? It's not that, do you know what I mean? I see on a bigger level what it's going, and it's like, who in here, I think it's everybody, but who in here has people on the outside who are rooting for them, cheering for them, and count on them? I mean, your people, I mean, are they not worth it? I say it all the time. You need to act like those people are standing right next to you, right here, because if you have kids, or a husband, or a wife, or anybody, like, could you imagine if you told them, because they're at home picking up all the pieces and doing this and doing that, imagine you told them, oh man, yeah, I didn't feel like going to the group. They only had 5 space heaters, not 6. You know what I mean? Holy shit, no. You need to be on some different shit. Like, whatever it takes, I'll do it. I don't care. Just tell me what to do. Because when I listen to myself, I wind up in jail, institutions, on my way to death, messing everything up. I mean, that's really the reality of it. Just for, like, guys, you guys all have a second or third or 100th chance. I mean, no matter what, we'll call it a second chance. Everybody in here has a second chance. Everybody in here has the opportunity to really, really shake this world up. What do we do when we're on the outside? We're going through the world all effed up, under the influence, messing things up. And you can go out in the world and actually F this world up. But you can go out there and make an impact. Feel good about yourself. Feel better about yourself. Give to the world instead of sucking the life out of everybody and everything you come in contact with. Because that was me. This is the thing. That, you know why it hurt me so much, Tiffany? Because all I wanted to do was do right and do the good thing. You know what I mean? Like, that was my intention, was to be the best that I could be. But my actions were not that. My actions were somebody who could do the right thing a lot of the time, but then fall when it was most important. Or, because here's the thing, everybody in here want to be considered reliable and someone they can count on from their family, right? I know I did. If you're reliable 90% of the time, what are you 10% of the time? And that, unreliable. And that's because, and here's the thing. When I was in treatment, I thought I was a guy that was like at the 90% mark. Now that I'm sober for a few years, and now that I really look at it from the right way, like, I was lucky if I was hitting 70%, you know. I could pay bills and I could, you know, show up for the kids and be there physically, but I didn't know anything else. You know, I didn't know how to support somebody mentally or spiritually, or, you know what I mean? Like, here's the thing, I didn't know how to do that for myself, so how could I do that for anybody else, right? Like, man, you know, like, and like Amy was saying there, like, this whole thing, when they say it's a design for living, it's coping skills. It's a new set of tools. It's a different way to live life. Because And listen, yes, people say it all the time, well, the rest of the world should be doing, yeah, I agree. I agree. I wish see, if there's 12 steps up there, how many of them, Alex, how many of them have to do with alcohol?
Well, just the first.
Yeah, just the first one. So if there's 12 steps and only one of them has to do with alcohol, and it basically says you can't put that shit in your body ever again, the other 11 steps are a way to deal with life in a way that you're not gonna want to go back to using alcohol, if that makes sense, as a coping skill, as a tool. So real quick, I know we got some new people. Anybody in here want to, like, if you want, if not, say your name?
Yeah.
Okay, say your name, drug of choice, alcohol, whatever, and what you want out of treatment.
Yeah, I'm Jimmy Board,
Hey,
alcoholic.
Hey, Jim.
This is my second time in treatment. I was in 2020, to your point you were making earlier. I got out in the middle of COVID. Actually, COVID happened while I was in treatment. And it sort of changed the whole dynamic of our treatment because we had these type of discussions where people coming in that were sharing life experiences, and that kind of stalled out because of what was going on with COVID, and it got pretty stale. The dynamics of the conversations changed, and the whole sort of mentality of, I think, a lot of people that were there. When I got out, I was sober for 9 months, and the solitude and the inability to interact with people and have your support system around you gradually dwindled into kind of falling back into it. And I thought I was managing it pretty well for a while. I kind of hit peaks and valleys. I'd gone through a really bad divorce and flooded in Harvey, and a bunch of different life events that had happened that's kind of driven me to go there. And I felt really good on a high getting out of there. Like I said, it kind of carried on for 7 to 8 months, and it got to a point where it just started leaking back. And it's like that thing, I can have one drink, I'll be all right. And all of a sudden it was 2 drinks, and all of a sudden it's a fifth, and then things start spiraling out of control, and you realize that you mentally, your friends see it, your family sees it, they're saying stuff to you, so you take a step back and then make people think you're okay, and then fall back into it again.
Like 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Right.
Which,
And so, one of the things in the previous treatment center that we were talking about earlier, it was just a very programmatic deal. Everybody was on the same path. It didn't really matter if you felt like you needed something to drive away from, 100% focus as a 12-step program. And it felt like it was more beat into you than allowing you to soak it in and have sort of your own opinion. And, like we were talking about earlier, the higher power. I mean, I can't tell you how many arguments people got in versus whether it's a God or a rock and what everything in between, and the distraction of that, and the inability to just be your individual self and find your higher power. And again, getting out, and then the AA was all like in the rooms, online stuff, and you could kind of pick and choose, and you didn't have the true personal relationship of being face to face. It was easier to fall off, I think.
well, it is, because like I was just saying about the depression and this, right? Like, we feed off each other's energy, do we not?
Being in
And you weren't
solitude,
able to do that.
right?
Yeah.
And so, I did a lot of due diligence before coming here. I talked to a lot of buddies that have relapsed, and some guys that were treated before, so my teammates I put in college that have been in treatment. And there's a lot of different programs out there, and I felt like I went to one in Michigan, one in Connecticut, Florida, New York. But I kept coming back to this because it's kind of a hybrid between, at least I talked with Will yesterday. I'm sure some of y'all saw me walking around yesterday. That it just felt like you had the ability to be yourself and have your own opinion, and just being here for whatever 10 hours now, you feel that your own ability to see it the way you want to see it, but as long as you're taking in whatever other people are putting out there because of different situations. And again, I've only been here for whatever 8, 10 hours. I'm very happy to be back. I mean, it's just going through this first thing at 4 o'clock. I can just feel something in myself with knowing that I made the right decision. And before it got, well, I went to jail last weekend, so I guess it did get a little bit out of control. But I was on my path to that direction. I felt like I needed to hit that rock bottom before I made that decision. And I was going back and forth of, whether to, I've got 3 kids and I'm divorced, and my ex-wife had them for Thanksgiving, and I had them for Christmas. I knew that if I waited through all the holidays, that if I got through it was okay, that I wouldn't I'm
The
good.
sense of urgency.
Yeah,
would
well, it's
necessarily
just, if I don't
be-
do it now, I know that in my mind, I know the way that I work. I mean, well, I just made it
Yeah.
2 months,
Yeah.
and I'm cool. I don't need to go do that.
Yeah.
And it was, I kind of put the pressure on myself. I came up here yesterday, and I showed up here at 11 o'clock today. So I appreciate all y'all. I mean, I enjoy learning from other people's experiences, and hopefully some of my experiences I can share that will help you guys. I'm an open book, so
Well, we're glad to have you.
Awesome.
I'm happy to be here.
And here's the thing I always say, I don't care what program you choose, AA, NA, refuge recovery, anybody in here that isn't familiar with refuge recovery, it's like the Buddhist take on, I'm not gonna say the 12-step, but just a recovery program. And what I like about them is they say that human beings in general are usually uncomfortable and in pain all the time, and it's because they want something. Because we are so conditioned that if we get what we want, we'll be happy. And if that was the case, we'd have all been happy for a very long time, because for the most part, we get what we want. Do we not? You know what I mean? It's like, and usually the stuff we don't get winds up being a blessing anyway. But,
It's like there's a will, there's a way, right? If you
Yeah.
want it, you're gonna make it happen.
well, that's why I always say about being sober, right? You have to want to be sober, not have to get sober or need to get sober. Because that might keep you sober for a little bit, but you have to want to be sober. You have to want to be sober more than you want to drink. And you have to go after it like we want something, because when there's a will, there's a way. Because a lot of times, and this is me included, I never wanted to be sober. I wanted to stop getting high and messing shit up, but I never wanted to be sober. You know why? I know 2 ways my whole entire life. I know I'm okay, and I know sober, and they're never the same. You know what I mean? So when you tell me, hey, do you want to be sober? I say no, because I'm miserable sober. I tell you this all the time. Yes, I used to like to get high. Yes, I used to like to do drugs, all that other shit. But the truth was, I didn't really like that as much as I hated being sober. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like even what I said before about the whole, the truth will set you free. If you look at that, that means a lie is going to keep you sick. I always break in, I look at the other way of things, because that's the truth. Like, anybody in here know what it's like? Whatever your drug of choice is, like when it hits, we feel normal. Right?
Yeah.
Most people get lit up on the shit we do, we get normal.
To me, being an addict, I can convince myself I'm right no matter what.
Yeah.
If I tell myself something enough times, I don't believe it. Right? It's like that pathological liar. Lie to is the truth.
Well, here's the thing, and we're gonna do that next week on the doctor's opinion. It says right in there, self-delusion.
Right.
We delude ourselves. And when you tell, because here's what we do. We manipulate the facts. You know what I mean? How many people in here used to drink or get high because this is what we do? We start patting ourselves on the back. Well, I work and I pay bills and I do this and I do that, so I deserve it.
Yeah.
Oh no, 100%. And here's how forgetful we are. All of a sudden, we put all our wins up in this column up here. I do this, I do that, I do this. All of a sudden, we're entitled and we think we deserve it. But if we really take a step back and look, you deserve to destroy yourself and poison yourself and ruin the shit around you and pull everything down that you worked for. Because I like what Amy said too before about functioning alcoholic or drug addict. Here's the thing, that whole functioning drug addict, shit just hasn't hit the fan yet. You know what I mean? Like, nobody is walking around as a full-blown drug addict and alcoholic and their life is getting better. It's just on the way down. That's why I say all the time, step 1, to me, this is just my opinion, the most important word in step 1 is had. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Because that's it. And once it's unmanageable, once you get to that had point, I don't care how many times you try to go back and how many times you try to fix it and how long you stay sober before you start drinking again, it's unmanageable. It's a mess. The party is over. If it worked, we wouldn't be here. For real.
Because I used to attribute a lot of my success to being the confidence that I would build by having it. It's like, I gotta give a big presentation, I'm gonna take 2 shots of whiskey before I go out there just to calm my nerves, and I'm like, man, I just crushed that.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go reward myself and go drink the rest of that bottle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly.
Like, hell yeah, nailed it.
Exactly.
Straight up.
Well, because here's the thing. you have to give a big presentation. I don't know, maybe at this point in your career, it's not something that may worry you, but in the beginning, it causes anxiety, right? There's that fear. You do a little bit of that, it takes the fear away. All of a sudden, gives us this confidence and gives us this. And
It also escalates, right? Because it's
Well,
like, I
that-
took 2 and I
yeah.
did great. So maybe if I take 4, I'm gonna fucking crush it.
Well, that's what I mean, and at this point, well, yeah, and then comes the day where you're slurring in there, and everybody's like, they're all whispering, going, oh man, you know, the side eye comes out, this guy.
So, I mean, I got to that.
Yeah. Well, we always do. We never come in here before it's too late. We come in here and the ship done left the dock a long time ago. You know what I mean? Because we are just convinced, like, because I say it all the time. Maybe you're like me, maybe you're not like me. I knew with painkillers, I knew how powerful, how strong, and how this wasn't going to end good a lot quicker than the people around me. You understand what I'm saying? I knew, because here's the thing, you can't love something like the way I love that feeling, the way I love that, I knew that wasn't good. I knew that wasn't good. I mean, if I'm being honest, it was the only thing that got me out of bed in the morning. It was like what I lived for. Now, if you were to ask me what I was living for, I'd have said my friends, my family, my kids, you know, my kids, you know what I mean? But really, because in my mind, as long as I got this, then I can do all that other stuff. But it's just not really the case. It was like, I mean, you talk about a crutch. Like, that's the whole thing. It was just like, it made me feel like it was okay to be me. Do you understand what I mean? And it's just like what you said, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think there's a bunch of people that are naive. Well, I mean, it's like I was a college athlete, and there was always a Band-Aid, like, you know, my shoulder hurts. Like, all right, here's some light.
Yeah.
And that's the early 2000s before it got to be this huge opioid crisis. A lot of my buddies I played baseball with were all addicted to opioids. Unfortunately, I didn't go down that route, but unfortunately, I went down the alcohol route
Yeah.
because, you know, going to college and having a very regimented schedule, and you're watching all your friends go to school, go to class for 4 hours, and then have 8 hours to screw off and do whatever, and you're running, lifting, practice, individual, study hall, and all that stuff. That get out of school, no more, you know, man above you. It's just like e-haul.
yeah. So, anybody else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did any of y'all, first thing in the morning, you're getting ready for work, do inventory of your alcohol to see what stores you have to stop at on the way home?
Oh, God. Anybody?
Just curious.
I just knew I was out. So I knew.
Well, listen.
Yeah, first the beer store, because it was cheaper at the gas station, and then Specs to get a half a gallon, and
Well, listen,
Yeah.
I'll ask this, and this gets asked every time. How many of you guys went to different liquor stores because you didn't want the people at the liquor store to know you're an alcoholic?
oh, I
At
didn't
first
care.
I did, but then I ended up like,
Well,
no.
that's
Well,
what
then I
happens.
ended up listen,
Eventually, you know what I mean? We
I
start.
talked them into like running me a tab at this one liquor store. So I just paid at the end of the week and I got paid.
Right now,
Well, because but this is the stuff we do in the listen. This is, I mean, I would, especially with painkillers and pills and stuff like that. It was like I would regiment myself. I would make sure, like there were times I went on vacation and actually came back with something because I bought so much with me. You know what I mean? But it was like, I mean, like it revolved my life around it. Like it says in the doctor's opinion, like shivering denizens in his mad realm. That's what it was like for me. Subjects of king alcohol and whatever, shivering denizens in his mad realm. That was me. That was like I revolved my whole life around drugs in some form or another. You know, and it just, God, listen, it made me hate everything about myself.
Did you see that documentary of Matthew Perry about how he would go to open houses and go through people's medicine cabinets?
I've seen that,
They're
yeah.
taking 55 opioids a day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing.
But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
you look at this guy Chandler,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
friends, and you're like, this guy's got it all made.
Yeah.
It's actually, if y'all don't see it, look it up on YouTube. It's a freaking awesome documentary.
Yeah.
Can I say
We can
something?
start using
Yeah,
one
please
of
take
the-
good, buddy.
On the naive part, yeah, that's very true. I was naive, and on the like you said, like opioid is kind of like a king, and that's how it was for me because every morning I'd reach over and I knew it was right there,
Yeah.
and if I didn't have it, I was freaking the hell out because I was gonna be sick as fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, so in that part, yeah, it takes over your mind and it takes over your body. And like at one,
Very quickly.
I remember that one. It like you said how it shit hits the fan or it gets really bad, and that's when people come. Well, I mean, I stopped it before shit hit the fan. For me personally, I did because I knew shit was gonna hit the fan if I didn't stop it. And so I remember I called my mom and I said, I was crying and I said, Mom, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is no longer something that I want to do. This is something that my body needs, and this is something that I have to have. And I said, I need some fucking help. I need you to send me somewhere. And that's when I stopped.
Well, that's why you came here.
Yeah, that's why I came here.
Well, because that's the thing, and I like what you said. Because what became the solution to our problem then becomes our biggest problem. We go from wanting to do something because we get these effects out of it, and it says, right in the book, it says, alcoholics and or drug addicts drink essentially because they like the effects produced by alcohol, right? But what are those effects produced by alcohol? And I'm going back to me. The effects produced by drugs were that I was no longer sober no more, and I was no longer anxious and nervous, and I was no longer comparing myself to everybody, and I no longer felt inferior to every single person I came in contact with. It like shut these voices in me that said like I was no good, or that I wasn't good enough, or that. Do you understand what I'm saying? It shut these voices off, and then it allowed, like I say all the time, for me, opiates, and I'm sure this is the same thing for you, whatever your drug of choice is, but it was like a warm blanket for a cold soul. That's what it was. And here's the thing, like, as a human being, from the cradle to the grave, a human being, and we don't change that much, believe it or not, from the age of 10, 15, 30, 40, like, we only feel two emotions our whole entire life, love and fear. All the negative emotions, like anxiety, is just the fear of not having a happy future, whether that future be in 5 seconds or, you know what I mean? Anxiety is like just nervousness, right? Jealousy, fear of, you know what I'm telling you, I read the book, it broke it all down. Fear is the number one thing that motivates us. Now, love is the only true, pure emotion, and love comes with the absence of fear. So if I am an anxious, nervous, restless, irritable, discontent person, but I put some of this in my body, what is that essentially producing? Love. Love, right? Because it's taking that fear, do you understand what I'm saying? Because love is the absence of fear. Have you guys ever had it where, whether it's if you and somebody are just laughing and joking, all of a sudden you're having a conversation with somebody, you guys are connected and you're laughing, and you're no longer stressed out or in your own head about your own problems. Yeah. Or you're having a conversation with somebody and you're going through something and it's a good friend of yours, or not, whatever, and you guys are having a conversation and they're helping you through it and they're helping you see it a little bit of a different way. There's love there, right? Like, this is the type of stuff, like, as a human being, it's the only thing that really should motivate us is love.
Fear is what brought me here.
Fear is what brings us everywhere. It's what it says it in the book. We are driven by 100 forms of fear. Like, I remember a guy from Boston told me that, Mike, this is a disease. It's rooted in low self-esteem and fear. And my first thought, and I didn't say it out loud because I'm not a dummy, was like, well, that ain't me, because I don't have low self-esteem and I'm not really scared of anything. Because my whole entire lifestyle was like, I was just expecting to go to jail. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I just assumed. I would drive around with shit in my car that could put me in jail. Like, but here's the thing. I lived that way because I was so afraid to do without. So afraid to not live up to this person that I was pretending. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, when it comes to altercations or when it comes to things, I would never back down from anybody. You know why? Because what would you say about me if I did? Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of nothing, but really, I'm afraid of what you say. I'm afraid of what you say more than what might happen. Do you understand how? So my whole entire life, I'm moving, and I am fear motivated and based on everything. And my opinion is, my theory, my thought, which was wrong, that everything was up to me, and I had to make it all happen, and I had to make things go. And all I kept doing at the end was messing everything up. See, I was making a lot of these decisions without God factored in. What did I say before? Any decisions made without God are destined to fail. Yeah, because I was running the show. I was going to make it happen. I was going to figure it out. I was going to do I was all sense of entitlement and ego. and it just wasn't working for me. Like, I mean, I had no idea. I had formulated a way to live, and I was just going through life, and I was part of this. I mean, anybody in here, me and Darius and them were talking about this before. For the most part, we're all just kind of part of this rat race, going through this. We're all part of this highway. We're all on this highway, and we're all going here. And we're told that, you know, get a job and get married and have kids and do this and do that. Have, you know, if it looks good on the outside, it has to be good, right? Anybody ever in here kind of have things working like that and felt completely empty inside? Anybody in here know what it's like to be around their whole entire family and feel completely like alone?
Yeah.
So obviously, if you asked me when I was 10 years old if I was going to be divorced with 3 kids, I would have been like, this goes screw yourself. That's not me.
Well, listen, let's put it this. At 10 years old, you're probably like, you know, at 20 years old, 25 years old, would you ever think that you wind up in a drug treatment facility? No, I don't think anybody was planning on coming here. That's not, I mean, even in my lifestyle, I was pretty sure jail was coming. Maybe death, but I don't know. But jail, I was like, yeah. I never once thought I'd wind up in a drug treatment facility, let alone 6 times. You know how I went 6 times, Kay? One at a time. Every time I went, I thought it was going to be the last time I went. I'm done. I'm good. I want nothing to do with this shit. Because like I said, I don't care. From the first time I went into treatment to the last time, I wanted to be done with this shit. I was never okay with being a dope fiend. I was never, I knew that, like, there was a much better way to live. I didn't know how to do it. But, like, I was not okay with, like, doing this to myself. But I couldn't get out from under it. I didn't know any other way. Like, my intentions were to do right. My actions were to do right for a little bit until I effed everything up. I mean, this is a real sickness, a real disease. And it wasn't until I realized that and said, holy shit, my brain, I am literally going to self-sabotage and kill myself over and over and over, no matter how much I decide and try not to. And here's the thing with me, I promise you, like, I never believed this could work for me. If you would have told me it worked for you, I would have believed you because you seem like a sincere person, and I believe you. Like, yeah, I get it, but it can't work for me. I didn't really think it could work for me. I thought I was complete. I'm going to be like this forever. But I tried it anyway because I remember saying, all right, man, while I'm in Texas, I'll do everything they say, and when it don't work, I could at least tell the people around me I tried my hardest. You know what I mean? And then holy shit, it worked. And that's why I'm here. I want all you guys to, like, anybody in here know what it's like to feel like you've had an anchor around your neck your whole life? You know, sometimes it's lighter than others, right? Like sometimes it's not so heavy and we're kind of getting through, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, no matter how hard we try to move forward, that motherfucker's anchored in. Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said, if you knew what was good for you, you wouldn't be here. Just don't trust your brain. Just do what you're supposed to do instead of what you want to do, and you'll move a lot further. Do you guys want to, do you want to introduce yourselves? I know you guys have been here for a few days.
I'm Chad.
Chad? What's your drug of choice?
Adderall.
Okay.
And,
You ever lay in bed and write books in your head?
say it.
You ever lay in bed and write books in your head?
Before I was on Adderall. No, it's just, I don't know. I'm one of those that kind of should be a big fan yet.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm an everything.
Everything?
Yeah.
What's your
Men.
net?
Yes, sir.
You shit at the fan?
Which time?
This time.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. More than one fact.
You got legal shit?
Nah, just tickets.
Okay.
Just tickets.
All right, good. You're in a good
It's
position.
just a fucking psycho ass life.
Yeah. It happens.
It's not her fault. I'm not blaming her. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, I know. Listen, I understand what you're saying. You really want to get out from under it? Like, you really want to change?
I've got to this time, man. I've got too many kids.
Yeah. How many you got?
I've got a whole basketball team and fucking sub.
Do you really?
Yeah.
6 kids?
Yeah.
Congratulations, man. There ain't no better reason. There is no better motivation than the kids.
Very true.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't even make you feel uncomfortable.
Oh, you're not making me uncomfortable.
All right, guys. Anybody want to say anything? Somebody say some good shit. Go ahead, bro.
I gotta scramble. There's so much shit hasn't happened in my life. I'm wet brain, done that. You looked at my file.
No, we're not.
I'm just wondering. You looking at me like I'm like.
We're not allowed to look at your files.
Well, if you see my file, y'all just follow.
Okay.
I've been in more treatment probably than all y'all put together.
What'd you say?
I've done about every drug there is known. I haven't done heroin. My brother.
Oh
does.
man, you don't know what you're missing.
But I shot Oxycontins, you know.
Oh,
when
okay.
I speedball with an 8-ball.
All right,
Of
just
course, they stopped my heart when that happened, so I got the God factor in there too, where I was in His presence, and I won't
Yes.
go into that now. God is love. He's talking about love, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's for sure. I mean, you felt nothing like it your whole life.
there's no high.
Dealing with
There's
shit.
no high like a spiritual high.
Oh shit! I was on fire. 18 years ago, I lost a lot of my family, and man, that was whew, the whole bottom fell out of my life. So I just didn't care, really, honestly.
Yeah.
And, my whole life, I spent like a daredevil walking the edge. I didn't care. I've done some crazy shit. The bottom line is that God's always had my back for some reason.
All of us here.
Yeah, well, obviously. I mean, and with the wet brain thing, I woke up in a diaper 30-something days later. You know?
Damn.
Here I am. I didn't know I'd been there but a day or two. You know, they stopped my heart because I lied to them about the shit I was on. So, and there's a lot of shit y'all don't even have a clue. But, you know, but a lot of you do. If you just pile it all up together, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much my life. And I went 11 days, or 11 months, 29 days one time. I've been in the book with Bill and everybody else, and you know, been to Akron, Ohio.
Really?
Chillicothe, I was there. And,
Okay.
Cincinnati, and I've always thought my story was pretty bad until I heard the guy. All his family got killed. Only one left was him and his dad. He almost died. And then when his dad came to see him that last time, he made it. He went home to find his dad. He was laying there dead. You know, and it broke my heart. And you know, there's a lot worse stories. The biggest thing, I guess, the last 4 years, next month, it's been 4 years, I haven't drank. I wouldn't have done a drug or anything. Age is hitting my ass, and I thought a little bit of speed was going to bring me up, you know, big car. And, you know, I just slipped right off the edge, not without even thinking. And I've got stepchildren, which I love dearly, that are doing this shit. And I see little kids could be doing it with vapes and all this shit in school, and you don't even know it's right under your nose. And it's breaking my heart. So I've been on, I was hit with 25 to life too, let me tell you about that. So that would change your whole life instantly. You either become very bad or you become very good. So I did both. I became a killer on one hand, and in 3 days, like Jesus rose, I became a different man. Because I pulled myself up out of that funk. And I didn't drink or do anything. But every day I got better because I was able to deal with shit I never dealt with before. And each day it got a little easier. This is the truth of the matter. And I thought, damn, this ain't so bad. You know, because I never wanted to deal with shit. I just kept drinking it, smoking it, and I just kept putting it away. And each time I did, I built up that shit till I had such a pile of shit. That's all I felt like.
Yeah.
And I hated myself worse than anything. I could go on. I'm honest.
No. That was really good, man.
The truth of the matter is, God has had an impact in my life. Whether you believe it or not, I know for a fact there is a God. So that's your own choice and your own belief. And you know, and I may think I was crazy or I was high, I was drunk. But I've seen him done a lot. And in my own mind, I've been there. So I didn't see God, but I was in His presence.
You
The
felt
first
it.
thing I can tell
You
you
felt
is,
it.
why do I belong? Why am I here? Why am I here? God loved me, man. I never felt like that. And you know when I come back, I just want to go kill myself because I want to be back with God. He said, you can't do that.
No.
So I got to
You're
deal
here
with this
for a
shit.
reason.
And now I feel better each day if I'm able to help someone. You know, that's the truth of the matter. I think that's what we all want. Last year I actually saved a little kid's life, 2 years old. Thank you, God, man.
Yeah.
'Cause that was the best feeling I've ever had. You know, he lived.
Well, I say this all the time. You've never heard me say this, but I say every single human being, the greatest gift God ever gave us was each other. And every single human being was born to love, to teach, to reach, to nurture, and to help each other. If we're all each other's crutches, nobody can fall too far. And that's what we're put here for. Every single person has a special set of
Shit don't
circumstances or
matter.
skill. Yeah, every
People matter.
Yes,
Shit don't matter.
exactly.
Throw that shit away.
And that's-
People matter. Care about each
Like,
other. That's all it matters.
When you're doing the right things for the right reasons and loving people and spirituality and stuff like that, you never have a hangover from it. You never feel guilty for it. You understand what I'm saying? You definitely never get locked up in jail for it. You know what I mean? Like I say all the time, I don't care if it's this program or whatever program that you reprogram your brain with and live differently, it's the way we should have been living our whole entire lives. Not the way we were living, where we were conflicted and battling everybody and battling ourselves and poisoning we poison ourselves on a regular basis with the idea that we're living our best life. I mean, how is that not a sickness? Literally killing ourselves thinking this is what we want to do or this is the way to go. All right, guys.
Can I say something?
Yes, and then we're done. Yes.
Step 6.
Yes.
That's helped me so much.
Really?
That's helped me so much. I've been able to deal with shit I've never been able to deal with in my life and move past from it.
Nice.
A lot of trauma and abuse. I've moved past from it.
Okay.
I'm done with it. That shit's gone. Step 6 right there has changed my entire life.
I'm glad, man.
Can I, what was your name, sir?
Steve.
Steve, can I ask you a question? Feel
Sure
free not to
can.
answer, it's none of my business really.
It's all right.
But, so,